Are we quietly empowering the things we refuse to confront? Tonight we're talking about the Epstein files. Let's go. Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Not Safe for Sunday podcast. I am Josh, and we have another very special guest. They call him the People's Champ. Some people call him the most beloved member of the Not Safe for Sunday podcast. We have Jacob.
What's up, guys?
Don't call me Jake McCall.
Yeah, just call me Jacob. No more Jake.
Jacob.
I do have to give a disclaimer today. If something does happen to me in the next couple of days, I am not suicidal by any means. If I disappear off the face of the earth, just know it wasn't me. Thank you.
Gotta get that out of the way. Clear the air real quick.
Good to be here, guys. Thank you. Nice to be in the hot seat.
Welcome in, Jake. Oh, love to have it. Love to have you. Good to see you, buddy.
Too.
Daniel, what's up, man?
It's nice to have a better looking man sitting across from me today.
Wow.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you. I didn't see you behind me over there.
Wow. Right off the bat, huh?
We're going for it.
Don't worry.
Oh, I know.
For the listeners, we got the father-son duo of Ken and Johnny in the booth. What's up, Ken?
We're an unstoppable duo. I just want to let you guys know that.
Batman and Robin.
For sure.
What's going on, Ken?
Not much, man. Definitely different behind the glass, you know. I'm just trying to find my comfort zone, you know what I mean?
You got to be like Daniel, lean into it, dude.
Oh, I'll be leaning in, don't worry.
Oh, I'm sure.
Johnny, what's up, man?
Nothing much. Glad to be back. Too blessed to be stressed, you know.
Shout out Johnny, turned 22 yesterday.
Happy belated birthday to Johnny. By the time this comes out, he'll be 23. If it gets released.
If it comes out.
Pending redactions.
Pending redactions. 90% of the episode is black.
It's gonna be a lot of beeps and black lines everywhere.
Is it real?
We're just gonna have we gotta get a black box over Jake.
Definitely voice modulator and black bar over his face.
Oh man. We do have a serious episode tonight, but I want to start off talking about the Super Bowl.
Can we just rewind for 1 second?
Nope.
You didn't say who isn't here.
Oh, Spencer's not here.
Yeah, Spencer's not here.
Yeah,
and
Spencer's
so I just wanted to bring up something because I was hoping Spencer would be here because I wanted to take up issue with Spencer about.
Oh no.
Yeah, because he did my friend Daniel dirty.
Okay.
Last week.
Oh.
Did he really?
The people know, dude.
He surely did.
The people know, dude.
I'm gonna pull up a picture.
Crazy. I was deep throating that mic, dude. That's crazy.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
So for the viewer, for the record,
in the theme of the night.
This was the picture that Spence posted. This is a tease picture for the Madison dating episode, and for some reason,
first of all, that is wild teaser for a dating episode. That's a crazy teaser.
For some reason, he had this pic of Daniel like about to eat a hoagie. Like, the money or something, like after this thing, like.
Dude, I'm mid-yawn. Like, I don't even know where he got that photo. That's crazy.
So I just wanted to confront my friend Spencer and say, hey, why'd you do my boy Daniel dirty like this?
Oh, boy. I saw that. See, this is the thing,
Ken's trying to, coat this as if he's coming to my rescue, but he's
coming.
really giving it more publicity is what he wants to do right now. This is the definition of gaslighting. This is crazy.
No, from the moment I saw this picture, I thought, Spencer, come on, man. Don't do my boy dirty like that.
I get this picture sent to me like 4 times a week.
By the time it came out, too, it was too late. Like, there was nothing that could be said.
It was done.
Oh, yeah.
It was
First thing in the morning, I got a text from friend of the pod, Adam Morales.
You got a lot of. How many texts you got that day?
I got quite a few texts like, what the heck is this picture, dude?
How did it even...
I didn't consent to this. I didn't consent to this. Dude, you know what is funny? We're sitting on the couch posing for these pictures. But, like, he only was circling you the whole time. I never saw him take a picture of me. And I was like, hey, that's fine. Like, Josh will be the thumbnail. That'll be great. I don't know when that picture was taken. I don't know why. I don't know what angle it is, but it's wild.
It's actually an at-home pic.
Yeah. Looking at my Ring cameras. not supposed to look at those.
So I just wanted to.
The mic is photoshopped.
We gotta redact that mic.
Oh my God! I won't have of this. I won't have of
That
this.
is too much, dude. Oh my goodness, that is hilarious.
You know, everybody always apologizes to Jake for. Everybody thinks we're hard on Jake in this room, but I don't think anyone's harder in this room. Oh damn it! Oh man, I ran into that one.
Why do you even bother?
Wow.
I can't speak. I
Why do
gotta
you-
stop.
Why do you even bother?
Yes, Danny.
I walked right into it. I gotta stop talking. This is a
You
problem.
didn't just walk right into
That had
it.
to be
You
scripted.
you paved the sidewalk and then went for a jog on it.
I'm sweating. We gotta turn off the heat. Oh man. I will. Taking a vow of silence.
All right, let's turn off the heat. Let's turn off the heat. I'm gonna take the heat off you right now.
Oh my gosh.
We're gonna go. We had some good comments on the last episode but before we get into the comments, I did want to make note. So we have partnered with Buy Me a Coffee to try to get a little funding for this podcast, this thing that we do every other week. We put out to you guys. You know, there's some cost that's associated with it, and we want to partner with Buy Me a Coffee to basically get some support from our listeners. If you like what we're doing, you like the content we're putting out, Buy Me a Coffee is a website that basically it's like an online tip jar. You can support the podcast with whatever you feel necessary, and if you do that, I mean, you can leave a message. We'll give you a nice shout out on there. We're gonna attach the link in the description of this episode. We'll put the link if you do choose to support us, and we really appreciate it, so we can continue to do the things that we do here and continue to put out good content to you guys.
If you want to see more pictures like the one that we just showed, you could do so by tipping us.
We're working for tips. We're working for tips here.
What else can the people do, Josh?
The people should. The way that you can find us
Something
is
you can do for free.
for free. You can go on social media. You can find us at NSFS Podcast. Like, review, subscribe, share us with a friend. We have officially hit 200 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
So
Come
clap
on.
track for that.
Clap track.
Yeah, we're very excited about that. The comment section has been blowing up.
We had like 67 comments, I think, on the last one.
Papa Lou had 54 of them
Madison.
on his own.
Madison bringing out them comments.
Shout out to Papa Lou. We love Papa Lou.
Papa Lou.
Madison did bring out the comments. Who would have thought?
Right?
Yeah,
Having a
yeah.
female on the
You know,
podcast
who would've
attracted a bunch of people to the podcast, of course.
Who would have thought?
Interesting dynamic there.
We had a new commenter, Texans Enjoyer 77 said, "Great pod." We appreciate
Thanks,
that.
thanks, Texans Enjoyer.
Texans Enjoyer. We had we had some hashtag Don't Be Busted.
People do love that.
Brandon DePina always coming through. Great comments. Colton Simmons, Serena Evergreen up in Maine. Becca Marks again coming through. She did point out to me that she was not a first-time commenter last episode, Daniel.
That was on me.
She had to correct you on that.
That was on me.
Somebody named Deb Marks, 1453, got married at 17 years old, which is that's
Whoa.
wild.
Speaking of Epstein,
High five.
I beat you to it, dude. I saw it running out of your mouth.
I couldn't wait to get it. Couldn't wait. Oh.
And Finding Peace always checking in, loving Jake, heart emoji. Yeah, we had some good ones. We had some good ones.
Olivia D5152 said, "You guys seriously make my rides to work bearable. Absolutely hilarious and great."
We love you, Liv.
So once again, we want you to. We love the feedback from the listeners. We want you to share this with your friends, and I mean, partnering with Buy Me a Coffee. It's a simple way for the listeners to support the podcast without subscriptions or anything like that. So please hit that link in the description. Give us $1, buy us a coffee. Maybe we'll go to Java Shack.
That's it. We love the money that jingles, but we really love the money that crinkles.
Amen. Close them doors.
Lock the doors.
Close the doors.
Close the doors. All right, guys. Super Bowl came and went, and unfortunately, my New England Patriots did not win. They did not win. You guys watch the Super Bowl?
Let's go.
Easy, Johnny. I'm in mourning.
It was a good game. Offense couldn't really get it together.
Did you say it was a good game?
No, that was not.
I
I think
not-
that was the
not a
definition
good
of a
game.
bad game.
I think it was the worst Super Bowl of all time.
Well, that was a quick tone change.
Thank you for reminding me, actually. No, but yeah, it was a rough watch. Even like the commercials were a rough watch. I don't know if you guys saw. Some of them are actually Epstein-related commercials. And, not out there fully Epstein, but like there was one about an island and there was one about the Nerds commercial where people were saying that the performer looked like Epstein. I don't know if you guys saw those at all.
I didn't really pay attention.
I'm
to the
not that
commercials,
deep
gonna
in
be
the
honest.
trenches,
didn't
dude.
put those,
That's all right.
Yeah.
Didn't put those
But
together.
now
Those
we're going to
were-
watch it again
Yeah,
with that
yeah.
lens.
But
Gotta rewatch
figured
it.
I'd bring it up. But yeah, they couldn't do much. Drake May was just a walking dummy.
You can say that again.
Can I say to the All American halftime show, I told you so? Can I say I told you so?
Maybe.
Is that okay?
Maybe.
Like Kid Rock? Kid Rock was what you had? That was like the big draw? Kid Rock?
I will say the Turning Point halftime show I thought was extremely poorly produced. I thought it was difficult to watch.
It was boring.
It was very boring. I think like the rally point for anybody who watched it, which is like okay, woohoo.
It was a
like,
protest vote.
It was Jesus got mentioned and stuff, and I think it can be a hard rally point. I think it is what it is. I mean, it was a really poor show, and the whole point of the halftime show is kind of be like for entertainment and to draw you in and be kind of like, I don't know, a little bit more than just like they didn't produce it for the viewer in television. It was almost like produced for the 100 people in that room, like the 180 people in that room.
Yeah.
And like all of us were just like peeking in through the window of what was happening in that room. Whereas I feel like it should be way more immersive. But that's just my personal take. I mean, whatever. Who am I?
Did you actually
I love my life. I love my wife. I love my children. If I go missing after this, let that be known. I do not like bridges. I do not like walking on them. I do not like falling off of them.
Do you lift your feet on bridges when you go over them while driving?
No, I'm usually driving,
Okay.
so the gas pedal needs to be pressed.
I haven't fallen
to
off
know.
a bridge yet in my life. I don't plan on starting today.
Touche.
Did you switch over to that halftime show?
Yeah, I was here at my parents, and
Oh, okay.
we switched over to there. I watched the Bad Bunny afterwards.
Yeah.
Same.
And I mean, I enjoyed the production of it.
Yeah.
I really did.
I said the same thing. I think didn't understand a word he said.
No, I had no idea,
Yeah.
dude.
We'll get that. We're gonna get that off the bat.
Taco.
But I understood. I think I understood with the set design and like what he was trying to like do. I thought the set design was fantastic. I thought
That's pretty cool.
I thought that was really cool.
Pretty cool.
What about you, Ken? What'd you think?
So I switched over live.
I know you're a big Kid Rock fan.
I didn't even make it to Kid Rock because because it wasn't timed right to like just be a halftime show. It went way longer than the allotted halftime. So the game was coming back on before Kid Rock. So I saw the aftermath. I watched after it was recorded or after it played afterwards. I'm not making any sense, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so I recognized like one song out of what I watched, and it was a good song, but I couldn't tell you any of the artists, who they were, their names, or anything like that. I agree with Daniel. It starts the production, went, and then with the Bad Bunny one, I think it's hard to get into a halftime show. You don't understand any of the songs,
Right.
and I think they need to switch up the NFL's version. I think they need to switch it up a little bit. I think they're just kind of like one particular kind of genre or one neighborhood of genres, that they're kind of pushing. And I just think that they can mix it up a little bit. And I still don't like the
You need
production.
to bring Kenny G in, dude.
I still don't like the production just of how it's like very, very like in tight shots of the performer. They don't really give the scope of like the whole thing happening and like the crowd and all that. And so I think when they switched over to that format for producing, no matter who it is, I think it got less interesting because it's just all these tight shots of the performance, like a music video.
Yeah.
And if you're playing the Super Bowl, you're playing this huge stadium, you want to get an idea of that feel. And I just don't think the production allows that anymore. So
I think it's two stark contrasts, right? And I think you and I talked about it the next day. Is like TPUSA kind of like felt like it was produced for the people in the room,
Right.
and then the Super Bowl halftime performances as of probably the last, what was it? We said it was like the weekend when they switched
that's
over.
the one I noticed. It was on the weekend. It became all these very, very tight music videos.
It was more. It's more about the TV production and less about the large scale production of the actual event happening in the stadium. And I think like if you could somehow marry these two from a production standpoint, I'm not even talking about all the other hoopla, but just a production standpoint, I think that's like advantageous for entertainment purpose, which is I just want to be entertained.
And that's the reason I think I liked the Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem one, because I think they did find that balance. You saw
The stage.
with
the levels.
Yeah, and I think they had to pan out a lot more. So I think they did a better job, but most of them lately have not. They've just been very tight on the performer, and you don't get an idea. Not trying to be an old head, but just go back to like Michael Jackson's, go back to Aerosmith and Sync and Nelly and Britney Spears, and those ones they were larger than life, and they showed you how much larger than life it was live. You know.
And as a musician, I always appreciate a live band. That's across the board. So like that's just a personal preference that has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
I just like a live band. I like, especially on that scale, just like a live performance. Like even I've loved even some of the times where it has been more of a hip hop artist or a rapper, but with a live band where it has a little bit of that Rocky Flair undertone underneath it. Yeah. It's kind of a hybrid. I just like that better for me, entertainment wise.
What do we got to do to get Outkast out there?
Hey,
That'd be cool. Harry Connick Jr. 2027.
I just think whenever
it's
you
Henry
pay,
Connick Jr. to you.
when you pay $5,000 to $20,000 for tickets and then you have a halftime show like that, I feel for the fans, because it's like you pay $5,000 for nosebleeds nowadays, for what? You know, the
A bad
game wasn't
Super Bowl.
good. The game wasn't good. The halftime show wasn't good live, and then, I mean, you kind of feel bad, but then you're happy you're home.
$10 hot dogs.
Hey, it's the elites that get to go to that
I
anyway.
know.
So
The 1 percentiles.
Did you guys see Epstein in one of the luxury boxes?
He's in Tel Aviv.
Did you guys see Green Day in the beginning? You guys watch Green Day?
Some of it.
I didn't.
Yeah,
Green Day. Green Day is wild, dude. The lead singer's not looking. He's not looking too hot.
I saw them live in Boston Common a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Big
Free
Green Day
show.
guy?
Free show. I wasn't somebody dragged me to it. I never really liked them.
They're not bad.
Yeah, they're all right.
they had a couple classics. Well, classics relative, I guess, but
Blink 182.
So tonight we're talking about something that, I mean, you guys know by now, something that's taken the country by storm the past few weeks. We're going to talk about the Epstein files. So those were released a few weeks ago now at this point. About 3 million files were released with redactions to protect whoever they chose needed protection. And you really can't go anywhere. Social media, TV, you really can't go anywhere without seeing something about these files over the last few weeks. And what's kind of been concerning to me at this point is I haven't really heard too many Christian voices speaking about what's going on with this in one way or another. And we're not going to make this, we're going to try to avoid as much to make this a political discussion tonight. We just really want to make it a discussion about kind of what's going on and what's happening throughout this country. But what's happening in those files is really, really disgusting. What's being put out there, and it's really, really sad to see how long that this has gone on for. So for those of you who might not know, and I would really be shocked if at this point you haven't heard about Jeffrey Epstein or about these files. But so Jeffrey Epstein had a background as in finance, I guess high-level finance. He was arrested back in. He actually faced criminal charges back in 2008. I think there was a plea deal that he had for maybe soliciting sex from a minor. I don't even know if he ended up serving time at all, and if he did, I think it was very minimal. But then back in 2019, he was federally arrested for trafficking minors and all the charges, all the other charges. I think that he was previously arrested for. And he, along with Ghislaine Maxwell, had basically created this network of child trafficking and sex trafficking, and just this a litany of abuses and all these different things. And now these files have come out. These 3 million some odd files have come out. Basically, what's that? 20 something years later, from, if we're talking about 2008, with all different accounts and reports of things that were happening on this island that he owned, at different parties that he would throw, things like that. All these really sick and twisted things, and in these files, you have a lot of high-level people being named. You have, obviously, Donald Trump being named. You have Prince
Andrew.
Prince Andrew. You got Bill Clinton, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Steve Tisch, Howard Lutnick, Woody Allen, like people from entertainment, people from business, people from political figures, just a whole litany of people being named in these files. And really what's happening right now is the country is on fire, like on fire. I can't tell you how many people I've seen say just burn it all down, like as bits and pieces trickle out, whatever's in your news feed, whatever's in your algorithm that gets trickled out to your news feed. The outrage just continues to spur and spur and spur, and it's really an outrage of where's the accountability for these people? Where's the accountability for what happened to these children? And I think we're all asking that same question, but I don't know if there's any answers coming, and I don't know if there's any really relief that's come from any of this. But Jake's out here as our
conspiracy realist.
Resident
conspiracy realist,
according to his shirt.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too deep into conspiracies today, Jake. I want to kind of keep it real. I mean, you can throw them in there whenever you feel it necessary.
Sprinkles.
But so,
Jimmy's.
I mean, what's your take on what's going on with these Epstein files right now?
Yeah, so there's a lot of information released all at once, and a lot of FBI redactions for protection of people's names for whatever reason that we'll never know. A lot of the information that's released, we'll never really know the answers to a lot of things in this world, but we know that, evil is definitely prevalent. I will say that there was a lot of background information and stuff going into this from what I was reading, kind of like the grooming that went on behind the scenes and profiling these young girls from a young age, knowing what they like, knowing where they live, knowing their parents specifically, to try to gain relationships with them, to gain trust with the parents so that they felt comfortable and safe with them going to this island. That was one of the main things that was very alarming, because the people that were mentioned in the files all were people that had children. So then it goes into the discussion of, if there's all this negative, evil stuff going on at this island, and there's people that have children that are taking these people willingly to this island, having that thought, that's really scary, because you're kind of getting into the 1%ers who know exactly, what they're going there for. And then all these files coming out regarding all of that information, 3.5 million to be exact. That's I don't even think that's the full amount.
Yeah, I think there's still another like 3 million files that they haven't released. They say that it's a lot of repeat or whatever, but I mean, at this point, I mean, I think transparency would be best. You know what I mean? If we're at this point, you're already being distrusted by the populace. I think the only reason that these files came out too is because the people demanded it. Like, it got to the point where the people were like, "You guys have been sitting on this." Like, I think Donald Trump ran on this. Like, that he was going to release the files, and then it was like, "Oh no!" First
Changed
it was
his tune. It was a hoax.
Yeah, first well. There is no files.
There's no list.
There's no list. There's no files. We're not going to release the files. Then we are going to release the files. And then it kind of got to the point where it's like, all right, there's a lot of talk about this, but nothing's happening. And then basically what it seems like is the people kind of got Congress to be like, all right, we want these files out there. Like, we want to know what's going on in our country, if our kids are safe, whatever it is. And it goes back to that story of power, right? The corruption of power and the people that are at the top, if they're holding on to these things, and what do we do about it? What happens when power gets corrupted at the top?
Jake?
Yeah, so I think, you nailed it right on the head. I think that, there's a lot of behind the scenes too that goes on in the world at all times. And a lot of times when you're dealing with things that are unknown, in the conspiracy world specifically, there's a lot of distractions for what's really going on in the limelight. And that's kind of what the people who have been doing research on conspiracies forever will tell you, that whenever something like this comes out that is a conspiracy into the public light, there's something much darker and deeper going on, whether that's more islands, whether that's, trying to distract us from something else that the media is not telling us. You got to look at the media as something that isn't always going to tell the truth. Unfortunately, we can't trust the media. And that's where we have to trust that God is always going to have us, and that, there's the evil of this world that will ultimately come to light. So this is kind of one of those examples, I think.
Yeah, this is one big apparatus, right? I mean, because, media, you see just in the files, right? You have politics, you have entertainment, you have all these intertwined people with extreme power all over the world too. We're not even just talking about in the U.S. I mean, there's politicians and high-ranking officials from all over the world who are wrapped up in these files. And so a lot of the information that we see is also meant to sort of distract, or, not even give the full realization of what's going on behind the surface that we don't even understand or can't even begin to comprehend. And so it's just a reminder of how deeply depraved this world is, and how when a power lacks accountability, that's where darkness really thrives. And so when we got to just make sure that we, the people, are always holding a standard of accountability with our leaders. That's why it's important. Ken always talks about being involved even at the basic level of your town and your city government, in making sure that there's involvement and accountability starting there, because it only kind of scales up from there, and really talks about being invested and involved in your local politics first, and starting from that ground level up.
And I think too, the sober reminder that behind, and we can spread this out even past the Epstein files. Like, behind these headlines are real people. You know what I mean? The things that are happening, the files that you're reading, and whether it be this or other things that you're reading that are happening throughout the country or throughout the world, there's real people behind those stories. And it's not just a story. So there's trauma involved in this. There's families that are involved in this. There's going to be generational trauma. And once this is completely like said and done, if we ever get to the it being said and done, this country might be traumatized. We might be at a point where, do you ever trust the government again? Yeah. Like, how does that bode for us? You know what I mean? Here in this country, that we have to live here and now say, well, you guys hid this from us for however many years. What else is it that you're hiding?
I think that's more of like checkmate, to be honest with you, and where we're headed in the direction with Jesus coming back. Because I think, if they're able to reset the timeline, reset everything, we're, I won't say in trouble, but I would say that, like I said, Jesus is coming back. The mark of the beast can be implemented. And this is a perfect opportunity to, shut the grid off and get a nice reset. That's what I've been reading as far as some of the crazies and conspiracies. But if you look at the timeline for everything that has happened, it does play right along with where we're headed as a country, and it's scary. So time to get right with God and get with your families now.
Ken, you're a big Revelations guy.
Yeah, when I think about this, it's really difficult to know what's what, what's real and what's not, just because, the Epstein files have been in possession of the Department of Justice for like 4 administrations now.
Right.
So it's like, why now and how now? Like, why not 16 years ago? Why not 12 years ago? Now, why not 8 years ago? Why not 4 years ago? So you go with that, then you go with him, supposedly like offing himself, which I'd say most people don't believe that he did that, and so there you add another layer to this whole conspiracy, and then you just have like the whole way it was released, which was just so weird, and like there was like that promise from the beginning, and then like those, right, was it the beginning of last year, all those social media influencers are at the White House, and like they're supposedly going to get all these binders with the files and with lists and all that, and they didn't, and then it was like it's going to come out, it's not going to come out, and so yeah, it's just so hard to know what's what, but it's all very believable just because of the evil and the depravity of mankind, and it's all very believable because unfortunately, the exploitation of children in this way has always been, basically from the beginning of sin, and when you have this power structure, this cartel, that, as Jake was alluding to, intertwines media, government, celebrity, all the wealthiest people. I mean, look at just the whole Diddy thing, and where, it's almost like you almost come to the conclusion that, in God we know this is different, but you almost come to the conclusion, humanly speaking, that there's no justice. Because here's Diddy. People know he exploited, tons and tons and tons of people and victimized so many people, but he's basically is free, right? I mean, slap on the wrist.
Slap on the wrist, for sure.
And then Epstein, obviously if he was murdered, that, I guess that's his justice, but like, doesn't seem like the victims are going to ever get justice, or the many, many, many people beyond Epstein that are involved with this are going to come to justice. And so it's just so hard, it's so hard. And then you add just the layers and layers of conspiracy theories. You don't know what's right, what's real, what's not. It's just hard to kind of make sense of it all.
Well, I do think that, conspiracy theorists, you can go even back into when they were talking about Pizzagate with the Clintons and the pizza place and all that. Pizzagate. And like that was meant to kind of be like, blown off as crazy. But then we get these files released and the word pizza is mentioned so many times. And there's so many allusions to all these different things that, these conspiracy theories are kind of proven true. And it's like you can really go down a rabbit hole where you're like, okay, now it even seems like the media might even be purporting or pushing, and not even just the media, but there might even be like underground like releasing of crazy conspiracy theories to make all conspiracy theories look completely bonkers. And there's so much information overload that when the truth comes out, you don't even know what to believe. So the truth doesn't even shock the way that it is meant to, and it should really bring out a righteous indignation in us. But we're so inundated by everything else that we don't even really like, is this real? What else are they hiding? What is the truth? And so you can't really cut through all the crap to find out what's real. And so you don't even know how to feel anymore. And so we're just so desensitized as a world. Because, I mean, Think about the avenue of AI now. Now you just question if anything is ever real. That photo of Epstein in Tel Aviv, is it Epstein in Tel Aviv? Is it AI? Is it generated? Is it this? Is it that? So again, I think a lot of these things are even strategically released to the public, so that way when things are actually revealed, it's meant to cause you to question and not even for there to be real outrage about the truth. That's my conspiracy
I think
theory.
that the real outrage is coming out though with like some of these resurfaced clips, that now people are able to connect some dots.
Goodness.
I was watching a clip of Matt Lauer. He used to be like an NBC News or morning guy or
with
whatever.
Like Savannah Guthrie and all them. Right?
Yeah, and he was fired because he was accused and admitted to sexually abusing a lot of women, and to the point where he had like a button underneath his desk in his office that would lock the door.
I remember hearing that
people couldn't get out.
Crazy.
So he could rape these women. So they're showing a clip of him interviewing Corey Feldman, child actor from Goonies fame, Bad News Bears fame, and like you go back and you watch this clip, and like Matt Lauer is like totally trying to discredit this guy from talking about all the sexual abuse of minors that happens in Hollywood.
You know what else is crazy about that? Because Corey Feldman, like now there's like this big swing that like Michael Jackson like wasn't.
That was my next point.
Yeah,
Macaulay Culkin
Yeah.
being interviewed saying Michael Jackson was actually trying to protect all these kids from going to Epstein's Island. That's why he was taking them all to Neverland.
Yeah.
I would like to add with the whole Michael Jackson, there is a conspiracy on the side that how he got all that facial, work done on his face. You know how like janky it looks. So this is really deep, and I don't necessarily believe this, but it goes into cloning, and he made himself look like that because they wouldn't be able to clone him.
Interesting.
The more you know.
So that's just one of the theories out there.
Yeah, that's definitely
That's
a theory.
I want to go back to something that you said though about the victims not getting the justice that's deserved to them, because it's I think it's very true. I think, and it's the hard part is to say whether it's a complete cover up or just a complete like lack of being able to do your job well. You know what I mean? For the DOJ, is it just, are you just terrible at what it is that you do, or are you doing this to protect those people? But either way, it doesn't bode well for, like you said, for those people that have been victimized and those families that have been victimized. Like I watched The Lincoln Lawyer. I don't know if you ever seen that movie with Matthew McConaughey the other day.
No, I don't think so.
And it's like he's a lawyer for a guy. I won't give too many spoilers, but he's a lawyer for a guy that is being charged with sexually assaulting a woman. But you find out that he actually murdered somebody earlier, that Matthew McConaughey was a lawyer for the guy. So, but now because he knows that, he can't do anything about it with this guy, and he can't say anything to anybody about it because attorney-client privilege. So he goes and he still has to defend this guy, and the defense, the state is so bad at like presenting their case that even with Matthew McConaughey like just knowing that like what this guy's doing, like he still ends up winning the case, but then he sets him up down the road. But that's what it made me think about this. It's like, are you guys this incompetent at your jobs that we can't get anybody held accountable for this?
I don't think it's incompetence. I think, like I said, 4 administrations have held this.
Yeah.
This could have come out a long time ago. So there's just tremendous, like this coalition of pressure, I'm sure, from every basically industry, media industry, and power cartel in the world that is trying to keep this thing from coming out.
So
for sure.
The silence that's happening, does that make, in your opinions, you guys can all give your opinion, does that make everybody that's been silent about this along the way, are they as complicit in what's happening to these children, these families?
By law, yeah.
Yeah, I think when you know what's right and you fail to do it, the Bible calls that sin.
Yep.
So I think 100%. I think when you're silent on these matters, you are partaking in these matters, and you are just as guilty before the eyes of the Lord. When you can't protect, we're called to be, protectors essentially for the widows and the orphans. We're called to that standard. And when it basically that the verse is getting at that we should be defending those who are vulnerable, who cannot defend themselves. And I think when we fail to do that as a society in the eyes of God, there is justice. We just might not see it in the earth. But justice will be had, and that's a hope. It's not an excuse, because we can't just let that be our cop-out for not having accountability here on the earth. But I do think that it is a truth that is a truth nonetheless, that we can't ignore. There will be justice. We just may not see it on this earth. And I do...
Well, I'll jump in real quick. You will see it, though, because I think that's really... Josh, you brought up Revelation. Was that you, right?
Yeah.
When you see the basically the wrath of God poured out on the earth, it is for this. It's like in Revelation when, basically the entire economic commercial system crashes in one day. It's because of, the fact that so much of it is built upon this.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. It's so wild.
It's so much of it is built upon this. And so, when you go to Jesus' words about saying it'd be better for a millstone to be hung around your neck and you to be thrown into the sea than for you to harm one of these little ones. I mean, think about what's happening now, what has been happening for eons, and what God thinks about it. And how, again, he's going to call these things into account. And there will be judgment here on earth for sure. The eternal judgment will be way worse, to your point, but it's going to be poured out, and it's, these systems are going to crash down.
And I think what I'm getting at is, like, we may not see it in our day. You
know
what I mean?
Sure,
like,
100%.
You might not see that judgment come right today. You may not see it with your own eyes, but one day it will come. And unfortunately, that's not super satisfying to us, because we are, an eye for an eye type of society. We want to see that justice immediately. We just may not.
Yeah. You got to make peace with it that it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, my question is, like I said, kind of to start this off, is I haven't heard many Christians really step up and have anything to say about what's going on. And I understand the fact that we don't know what's what. I understand that there's 3 million files. There's a lot of information to pour through. I get all that. But where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of smoke right now. And I haven't heard, like I said, I haven't heard anybody really talking about it. And not to condemn, we don't have to condemn anybody or whatever, but like, there's people that are struggling internally about what's happening. Like,
Big time.
I know that there are. So where's the church? Where are the Christians when you need the hand? You need somebody to lean on.
I think this is the hard part, right? Because you're calling into question. This is at a crossroads of so many of people's core, essentially, because now you're crossing your politics, your political convictions, with your spiritual convictions, with your moral convictions, and all of those things before kind of could exist in these 3 or 4 different spheres. But now you're at a crossroads where all these things intersect. That's and you're forced to kind of face, okay, what is my God? And what is my line of truth? What's the demarcation line between truth and lie? And that's why what we always talk about on here is word has to come first, and you have to put God first. Your relationship with and understanding with God has to be the first thing. Your political allegiance can't be your first thing. People will always fail you politically. Your trust in the media will always fail you. Your entertainment God will always fail you. Your money God will always fail you. And so you got to put your faith and your trust and your hope in the one God who won't, and that is Yahweh, right? And that is our God in heaven. So we do have to look to that, and that be our source and spirit of truth. And we have to trust his word and take him at his word. And it's why we always say Bible literacy is so important. Get in your word, start reading, start dissecting it, and start understanding, because the time is coming where we're going to need to know and be equipped. There's spiritual warfare all the time. We should be equipped at any moment. But the climate, the dial's turning up. The dial's turning up in our culture. The dial's turning up in our world. it's going to be even way more important now more than ever that you're Bible literate and that you teach your children to be Bible literate.
Yeah.
You know, that you learn some apologetics. You learn how to defend your faith in a real way with both logical conclusions and biblical conclusions. Get in your word. I can't understate that more than ever, because even when the world fails, like your faith and your joy and your peace won't be shaken because you've built it on the firm foundation that is Jesus. And so when all the rest of the world is collapsing, we know that this world is not our home. And again, that doesn't write off our moral obligation to make sure that we can, and our spiritual obligation to defend the widows and the orphans and to still go to bat and protect them. We can't just say, oh, you know, the world's going to hell in a handbasket, and Revelation says it anyway. We got the victory, so we can just sit back, eat some popcorn, kick up our feet, and watch it all burn. You know, because God calls us to be on the move, and he calls us to be people who are active in our faith, not passive. I mean,
Right.
God's never called you to be a passive believer. He's always called you in active belief. It's why he sent his son, Jesus, to earth, because he was an active God. And so he wanted to be active and present in his creation. So he sent his son, and his son wasn't passive here. He didn't come in riding on a golden horse and all that. That'll be far later. But he came and he was active. He was constantly on the move. He was meeting people, their place, their thing. He was meeting people where they were, meeting them at, the woman at the well, John 4, all of those things, right? We talk about them all the time. But I think that's so important, and that's what needs to be our driving factor.
I think, too, that crossroad analogy, it's really such a great point, Daniel, because I think what's happening and at that crossroad is really, I don't even know if I can say this on the pod, so I'm going to try to say it a little
Go
differently.
for it.
But it's a check of testicular fortitude. Okay, you know what I mean?
What a way
You know,
to describe
right?
that.
But like this faith that you claim to have, right? You claim to be a Christian. You claim to have this faith. Where are you at now? Okay? And where did this faith come from? Did it come just because, and I know I'm going to get a lot of hate, did it come just because Charlie Kirk said some things that fired you up?
Mm-hmm.
Did it come just because Forrest Frank was hot on the radio for a little while?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Did it come just because the culture kind of leaned into some of the hip Christianity for a little bit? Did it come from that? Okay, great, but where did it go from there?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it stayed there, that's why you're silent now.
Mm-hmm.
Because that does not build strong Christians if you're staying there. You have to, like you said, get in the Word and continue to grow and develop. So now when these things are happening, you're not staying silent. Maybe you're not staying complicit. Maybe you're speaking out and saying, you know what, wrong is wrong. You know what I mean? So I think that that analogy was that crossroad is great, because I think there's a lot of people coming to a crossroad, and to be honest, I think this is going to be you're going to see a lot of people's origin stories for their villain side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people are going to be really hurt by what happens here and not have anywhere to go to outlet that hurt and have nothing to fill it because they don't have Christ in their life. Maybe they never did, or they thought they did, and they're not going to know where to go with that pain that they're feeling.
I think that, looking over some of the files, there is Jesus mentioned in the files. So I think it is bringing some people to God. And more specifically, I'm going to go into one of the files specifically where there was actually a little girl that was reporting that Jesus was by her side during the whole time. And there was a joke that was sent back to Epstein that he should dress like Jesus. This is a really sick part of the files.
That's so twisted.
So that just shows you, if you have any question on if Jesus is real, there's your answer right there. There's the darkness and there's the light. And the fact of the matter of that actually made me really emotional when I read that. And there's also, people in comments, and a lot of the comments for, Epstein and a lot of things. Why would Jesus allow suffering is one of the major questions that people have that don't understand Jesus and the relationship that you can have with him. He's always there. He's always present. And he is going to allow suffering to show you that faith is going to override all of that, and your personal relationship with him is going to prevail. So, and that'll build, strong faith and character. So that's one thing that I've noticed as well. So, God is in everything, and even, the darkness is going to all come to light. And I'm very thankful that people are coming to God from this such negative scrutiny, just negative, dark energy, demonic forces that are just, have always been prevalent.
Yeah.
Going back, I don't mean to get into too many conspiracies, but like the Got Milk campaign with the kids on the milk cartons, those kids that were missing, who knows what happened to those kids? Unfortunately, that could have been something going on there. And then there was also a small thing. There was a Wayfair. Scrutiny was given to Wayfair because they had items that were selling for $80,000.
Yeah.
I have a receipt in the Epstein files for an $8,500 purchase for a cabinet, and
it's up now.
Yeah, so that actually the receipt doesn't show it, but for each of those items, they actually showed in the photo the name of a person on the book that was in the bookshelf or in the item. So there was a name attached to it that we won't be able to see the images, unfortunately, but that's actually taken from the Epstein files for that purchase.
Yeah. I remember that being a big thing. It's like that again with the Pizzagate thing.
And we'll never know because I went through all the Wayfair purchases that he had. He had normal ones too. So there was like side tables and stuff for his homes and whatnot. But this one, that was one of them. I haven't gone through all of them, but that was one that was pretty alarming. So
if some of these conspiracies start coming true, dude, I'm gonna have like a lot of people coming to me.
Yes.
Be like, I told you so.
yeah.
Jake being one of them. But back to your point on, I think, suffering.
Yes.
Why does God allow suffering? I think the same people who question why does God allow suffering are the first people to also argue, like, oh, God's given me free will. We have free will. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You either want God to be a providential God, or you want God to be a God who has allowed us to choose him and to also, on the contrary, choose evil. And a lot of people don't want to come to terms with that. So they're like, God can have his providence when he can, but I want all my providence when I want it.
Right.
And so it's like that Office episode with Ryan, and he's like, lead me when I want to be led. You know what I mean? And so I think that's how we treat God. It's like, all right, you can have your providence when it's convenient for me. So like when all goes bad in the world, oh God, like where's your hand? But then when all is right, I can have my free will. Oh, it's my life. I can live how I want to. You only live once. It's all this stuff. And so we can have our free will when we want, and God can have his providence when we want, but you can't have your cake and eat it too, is what I'm saying.
Right.
And so the result of what we see here is just absolute total depravity. It's what happens when the result of sin was poured into this world, when we deliberately disobeyed and turned our backs on God. Started with Adam and Eve in the garden, and we've been born into sin ever since then. And so we cannot be shocked when darkness is on display in the world. There will always be darkness until Jesus comes and eradicates it finally. Yep. And so darkness is a real thing. I mean, we do not fight. We fight powers and principalities, the wickedness in the high places. This is spiritual warfare. There's things that we will never understand, that we can never see. But that's where spiritual discernment comes in. And that's where, again, get in your word. If not, when these things do happen, and when the total depravity of this world surfaces like the Epstein files, a lot of people who have built their faith on, like you were saying, the words of Charlie Kirk or Trump becoming president, or I'll even take it a step further. People who have built their faith on when God met them and gave them the miracle they were believing for, but then they never saw his hand again, and so now my faith is shaken and I have to withdraw because I'm not getting what I want. God is no longer satisfying my desire, my need, my want. And so again,
taking another step
truth.
further, they got their faith just because their parents went to church.
For sure. Hey, I'm offended. But these are truths and these are reality, and we are in a climate now where as believers we cannot shy away from speaking the truth. We need to hold the line. We need to hold the standard. for too long, Christians have abdicated that, and this world has spiraled. And we can't be shocked when we as believers are biblically illiterate, when we don't know our word, when we are spiritually obese because we only want to be fed and we never want to pour out, when we're not living according to God's design in our family and taking our rightful place and getting in God's design. We cannot be shocked when the world leans totally into this depraved state. And meanwhile, the church sits back and is like, well, as long as my political candidate's in office, then I'm fine. As long as this bill gets passed, then I'm great. As long as they put Bibles back in school, that'd be awesome. Like, but what are you doing? What are you doing? You know, what are you doing in your life that is equipping you for spiritual warfare, that is equipping you to protect your family, that's equipping you to not only just protect you and your family, but also get out there and protect the widows and the orphans, to also stand up. And so I have a real big issue just in general with Christianity and Christians. I really, they're my biggest problem on this podcast. And it starts with me. I'll be honest with you. I look myself in the face because I could be way more in my word. I could be way more serious about spiritual warfare. And I get caught up, dude. I get caught up in the day-to-day. I get caught up in my own little sphere, in my own little world. Dan just preached a great message on Sunday about all the mix-ups we have with our priorities.
Shout out Dan Boulay.
Shout out Dan Boulay. And, you know, I have a real problem. It starts with me, and I need to look at myself first.
That's right.
And, you know, God's given us this platform of the podcast, and so it also reaches further into, I think, just believers as a whole.
Yeah. And I think, first
Long
of all,
tyrant.
a million points, dude.
Sorry.
A million points.
Long
that was
tangent.
fantastic. It was worth it.
Yeah.
But just to go back on what you're saying, if you have to spin what's going on here to fit whatever it is, who you voted for, whatever, to make it okay in your head, you're doing the same thing that these people have been doing to cover up what's been happening this entire time.
Absolutely.
You're spinning this to make it less than what it actually is. Take it for what it is. Let's call sin, right? And let's get past it. Let's move past it and move forward, right? Like you said, we're not battling flesh and blood. We're powers and principalities, right? And at some level, we have to say, enough is enough. I'm not going to accept this. I'm going to trust in God. And let me tell you, my trust in God is whatever happens from this he's going to make it for good. And it might not be what's good for me, Josh. It might not be what's good for any of us in here, but it's going to be what's good for his kingdom.
Absolutely.
And at some point, we have to accept that and be okay with it and just let that sense of peace just say, okay, this is out of my control. I'm going to let him take it from here.
I would like to just add, one thing that this adds is like a layer of, desensitizing the youth in a way. Because all it takes is one story to leak out of this 3.5 million files or whatever to a young child who's in a tough situation. And for that child to be changed from this for good or bad. But I think that's where God does step in. But, the desensitization of making this okay in a lot of people's eyes. There are people that think that this is okay. If you look at California, they tried to pass a law a couple of years ago. I don't know if you remember this, with making pedophiles, the wording of pedophilia in the court system as a preference and not pedophilia. So you see the perversion that the law tried to shift, and it's unique and very strange that it would just be California. Now, that doesn't really go along with any sort of conspiracies. That's an actual law that was to use to protect pedophiles.
100%, Jake. I'm glad you brought that up because we're channeling one another because you're in my chair and I'm in yours. So that was going to be my next point, was that there is a real movement to normalize pedophilia.
Yeah.
That's a real, it's been happening for a very long time. And it's making its way through courts. And as we know, you just look at the last several decades, it's just that every form of perversion is being normalized in one way or another. And this is the next one. And so I don't want to say it's my fear, but like I think it's a very real possibility that a very negative outcome from all that's happening is that, this just goes to more normalize or desensitize to this type of behavior. Because, as Jake said, these are real cases that are going through courts now where, the court system or just the system of morality or law in general is just there's a battering ram, it's just being battered and battered and battered as people that want to normalize this and make it, something that's lawfully accepted and America is probably behind the curve in that. I'd say in other countries, it's probably way further ahead.
Oh, dude.
Way further ahead.
Wow.
And so, yeah, that's a real, and I think that's when, I think bringing it up now and saying like, oh, this is wrong. I mean, that's shooting fish in a barrel. If you don't know this is wrong, you have a problem.
I'm going to tell you, though.
You have a problem.
I'm going to tell you. There's a clip, and maybe we'll play it later, but there's a clip of a guy literally asking somebody, okay, what's wrong with that?
Well, but that's what I'm saying is, and I think because there is this movement to normalize it globally, that's what you're going to get. That's going to be some of the outcomes and the byproduct of this. Is people like, well, let's think about this for a minute. Is this wrong? So for us to be able to sit here and say, if people are not speaking up about this or speaking against it, I should say, I'd say it's one or two reasons: either a political, affiliation or some sort of political affinity, and you don't want to like cross that line,
right.
Or, and this has been happening in the church forever, is that the church hasn't yet dealt with its own sexual sin on very many levels.
Really good point.
Whether it be abuse or whether just name them, But for most people, I'd say if you're not speaking up about this, you've got serious problems. It will be harder to speak out against it when it becomes more normalized. And I hate to tell you that day's coming.
I can't imagine, dude. I can't imagine living in a country where that's just okay. You know what I mean? I can't imagine. And I know, like, we talk about the LGBTQ and all that stuff, and it's become okay in our country. And I mean, we still obviously love those people, but we know it's a perversion from what God has made for us. You know what I mean? This takes it like an entire step further, maybe 10 steps further. You know what I mean? And it really does break my heart. It really does, especially having young kids.
Oh, having kids, dude. You get a fury in you and a fire in you now that is you almost can't even imagine it not having kids. You can't even imagine the fury you feel when you see stuff like this, where you see kids getting abused. And it just oh my God, it enrages you to the core. But again, we're so distracted where I've seen more outrage about, who did or did not release the files. It's if you're a Republican, you're saying, well, all these files have been around for a long time. Sorry, Ken.
Well, it's true.
No, but and then if you're a liberal,
that includes Trump's first.
No, I get it. No
administration.
But I'm saying that more from conservatives saying it from an ignorant stance, not from a factual stance. And then you have a lot of liberals saying, oh, well, they've redacted a bunch of stuff and, we had to force it through Trump's administration. And I see more argument about who did and who didn't release the files than a lot of outrage about the actual abuse in the files and about the actual children who are victims. And so now we're pissed that, there's redactions and it protects the elites. And so now we're pissed about it. All goes back to the politics, but it's where is the justice? Where is us speaking truth that these things are sinful, they're wicked, they're wrong, and us really speaking out against this with a spirit of truth and a spirit of boldness instead of it's just so easy. They want to keep us distracted. They want to keep us distracted. They want to keep us fighting. They want to keep us bickering, because God forbid the people came together and actually there was real unity speaking out against this stuff.
And it's really bad visuals too when you have the Department of Justice are the people that can and should be doing something about it.
Yeah.
It's really bad visuals when Pam Bondi goes on and starts talking about the Dow Jones, dude, and all that stuff. And
she wouldn't even acknowledge the victims.
Yeah, and so if that's where you're taking your lead from, that's bad. You're taking bad advice. Like you said, Daniel, let's address the elephant in the room and not nitpick over who's gonna get stuck. It's not a game of hot potato.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What side ends up with the burden of what's happening in this files? At some point, somebody's got to do something about what has happened in these files
Well,
in the past.
I mean, you think about a bunch of trove of like the JFK files just got released like last year.
That's crazy.
That happened in 1963.
Right, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King, was that 67 or 9? I apologize for not knowing that, but like more files on that just got released. So like, I don't know why do these things get held on to forever and ever and ever? Like, what? I don't understand the secrecy. I don't know if it's protection. I don't know what it is, and that's maybe to your earlier point. Like maybe we'll never know on certain things. It's ridiculous.
That's why I think in our personal relationships, we have to make sure that we are being transparent, we are being open, honest, and direct. That we cannot keep things in darkness, because the word says that they will always be brought to light.
Right.
The things that we do in darkness, they will always be brought to light.
That's right.
And so we need to be open and honest and direct with the people that we love. We need to start there, and the people that we have direct influence over, because I'll be honest with you, you look at the politics, you look at the elites, you look at the rich, you look at the famous, you look at all the people wrapped up in this story. A lot of them probably have figurative guns to their head, and a lot of them probably have a lot of literal guns to their head. And there's, I think there's this back door conglomerate that is pulling the strings of all these nations and all these elites, like a shadow government that genuinely is running so much in our world. And I think that those are the types of rabbit holes you can really dive into and really make yourself crazy. But at the end of the day, no matter if you discover it or not, the things that you have direct influence is your home. Yeah. The people who God has given you to steward in your life, the people you have a relationship with in your life. And if we can start at the ground level, foundationally, I think we can shoot for the stars, but we have to start in our homes. We have to start with stewarding ourselves well. And that's why I just kind of bring it back to steward yourself, steward your home, steward your town, steward what God has given you well, steward your gifts, your talents, your abilities. Steward those things well. It doesn't mean that we claim ignorance or that we disassociate from the things and the horrors of this world. Doesn't mean that, we just don't pay attention to anything else going on in our world, because God has also called us to be active as well. Right. So I think it's important that we do have a presence in our world. We're not of this world, but we're in this world. And so we should be able to speak to our neighbors and have a semblance of understanding of what's going on in the world in the context culturally of, Jesus had contextual understanding of the Roman government and about Caesar. He said, give to Caesar what's meant for Caesar. So he clearly knew what was going on. He clearly knew how the systems worked around him, because in order for him to be relevant to preach to the people he was preaching to, or to reach the people he was reaching, he needed to have a contextual understanding. And so I do think it's important that we understand these things. But if you're in the Epstein files more than you're in your word, there's an issue.
And that sphere that you're talking about, your sphere of influence, like, also protect the vulnerable people that are in that sphere.
100%.
And not just the children and the people that might be mentioned in the Epstein files, but there's going to be a lot of parents that are going through, and as this plays out, like, anxiety is going to be going through the roof. They're already there. They were already there before this.
Definitely.
And now that you talk about helicopter parents, dude, once this bomb drops and everything kind of plays out, can you imagine the level of anxiety and the fear that's going to be in so many parents? There's people that you sit next to every Sunday that are going to be going through it. Like, that's your sphere of influence. Be there for them. Be strong for them. Mm-hmm. Protect them. Put that hedge over them that we talked about before in this podcast. Yeah.
So MLK was 1968. So I had 1 year on either side. This is a mask of Guy Fawkes, who tried to blow up the House of Lords in London in 1605. This mask was used as a graphic novel back. Josh, you probably remember this graphic novel, V for Vendetta. Remember that graphic novel?
Ended up being a movie. Yeah,
ended up being a movie in 2005. And so I just, when we talk about stuff like this, it makes me think of that movie or that graphic novel too, because it's basically like there's such a power structure that's happening in England. And it deals with a little bit of like child sexual abuse too. And I think it's like with like the religious elite there, like the government elite there, and this dude is just there to like blow it all up in that graphic novel and in that movie. But it just makes me think of that stuff because it just there is this power cartel that tries to keep all and hold all this together.
And I mean, we do the ignorance is bliss thing, I think, for a majority of our lives. Like, if it's not affecting me, then, but I think that's why this, especially dealing with children, this has been such a huge thing because even though it doesn't affect our lives, 90% of us, and I know, Ken, you said, like, there's the people that are for it, but a majority of people understand, like, this is a bad thing.
Yeah.
That has happened to a lot of people, and there's a lot of people involved in it. And it really is kind of peeling back the curtain to really expose what's going on in our country, and I think that's why it's really scary for a lot of people.
I think the last point I have is that you have to be careful with what information that you're taking in. Even if it is from these files that were released, these are all files that could be things to throw you off of in life, in your pursuit of happiness, for a lot of things. So I think you have to have discernment when you're siphoning through these things. Other thing I'd like to bring up is that central casting is real. There are paid actors that dealt with COVID during the COVID times. Fake doctors giving fake vaccines, stuff like that. You got to be aware that you can't trust everything on the media, what the media tells you. So I feel
you can trust almost nothing.
I do want to also bring up.
Hold on, is it a conspiracy?
No.
All right, I'm gonna let you do conspiracies in a little bit before we close out.
Epstein actually won the lottery back in 2008. His Zorro Trust Fund named $85 million Powerball jackpot back in 2008. Him and Jelaine were the only two to get in trouble from this. So who knows? Maybe they were the fall people. So it's tough to know the truth. We'll never know the truth. But
all right, before I let Jake off the leash to do his conspiracies, do you have any last thoughts, Daniel, on this?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much in these files. I mean, we didn't even touch on child sacrifice, on Satanist worship, and all the. I mean, there's just so much darkness in this. I mean, and that's why when you look at this through a spiritual lens, I mean, there is just so much darkness over it, and that's where we just have to be. We have to be, again, in our word, because it's the only thing. The spirit of truth will push against the darkness, and we have to be present in our relationship with God. Don't be so present in culture that you're absent-minded in your relationship with God. I think that's the big thing. We could have talked about a million things. We could still talk about a million things. We're probably rounding down to the end of the episode. And I'd love to hear all of Jake's conspiracies.
Yeah.
So
I just want to piggyback on what you just said too. When you're getting in your word too, get around your community. Get around your Christian community, your brothers and sisters, and kind of lift each other up, lean on each other as we're all going through this together. Ken, you have any last thoughts?
No, I mean, I just think just be willing to speak up for what's morally right. Yeah. I mean, I think just go back 10 years, okay? And just picture 10 years ago, your 10 years ago self being faced with, the young man who dresses as a woman and plays women's soccer and destroys the competition and injures them. And for you to for the gasp in the room to come when you say, "Wait a minute, that's a guy."
Or even let's go 1 year ago with the boxer in the Olympics.
Right, but just like go back 10 years when this was unthinkable that, so if anybody doesn't think that this will be normalized at some point, because you never in a million years would have thought that what I'm talking about would have been normalized.
yeah.
You never would have.
Yeah, that's true.
It would be from another planet.
That's true.
But yet it's normalized, and you're the extremist if you dare say what's right in front of you, So just be willing and be bold and be brave to speak always what's on morally correct.
Amen.
And we know what the moral standard is because we've already said it so much because we have the Word of God. We have the standard that God created. So just be aware that this could be a door opening to that being a byproduct of this, of more attempt to normalize what's insane and sick.
Let's pray it's not. Let's pray it's not.
Yeah.
Johnny, do you have any thoughts on this? We haven't heard too much from you. I know you're a busy boy in there.
No, it's okay. I agree with pretty much what my dad and Daniel have been saying.
Not me though.
No, like what they were just I'm talking about what they were just saying.
Oh, okay.
I think truth is very subjective in today's world.
Yes.
I think in schools, in universities especially, where they're teaching all this nonsense, I think like what Daniel said about being in your word. I think when you have like an objective moral, objective truth, that can only be from God because you're in your word. So I think when people, especially humans, they start to come up with their own truth, what they think is morally right, I think this is the byproduct of it. You get elitist, sacrificing children. You get like trans violence with like school shootings and all that. You get like children being influenced by trans people in schools. Like, I don't think there's any place for that, especially for a child. So I think when you stay out of your word, when you remove God from schools, remove God from everything else, I think this is a byproduct of what we're seeing now. And like what my dad said 10 years ago, this was unimaginable. So
That's right.
imagine when it only gets worse, when God is removed even more. What's 10 years from now going to look like?
Yeah.
So that's
Good
my
thought,
endpoint.
Johnny. Can I give you my naive hope for a second? My naive hope from this is that this is going to be this generation's 9/11. And what I mean when I say that is when 9/11 happened, it was like the country kind of came together as one. And like we really got focused and kind of got back on track. Like, all right, we do care about one another. Like, there's a lot of division that's been happening, obviously, in the past few years. And my hope is that this, even though it's a terrible, terrible thing that's happening, my hope is hopefully we can come together and all say, hey, this is terrible. Let's not let something like this happen again. And let's not let these little things that we bicker over be the things that divide us. That's my naive hope. If it happens, I'd be so happy, but I don't know.
Bro. They're eating the dogs.
And the cats.
And
All
the
right, Jake.
pets.
Jake.
So in lieu of a
JTT.
in lieu of a Ken's tangible takeaway, we're gonna have a Jake's conspiracy corner.
JCC.
So I kind of wanted to go another direction, but it's leading all back to Cappy. So
Capybara?
No, Isaac Cappy. He was an actor, and he released a video from within the Epstein mansion, and he was prevalent on Twitter at the time before it changed to X. And he released this video and basically was stating about all the trafficking going on, and he had all the insider information, and he was going against the tide. So he felt like his life was in danger, and you know, he tweeted about how he should be protected, and hopefully me as well, in case your life's in danger. And 2 days later, he was found. I guess he had jumped off of a bridge, and it was said that he had committed suicide when he had just formally stated on Twitter that he wouldn't do such a thing. So I think, you know, when you are in sort of organizations and you're in the elite, you're coerced and forced to do these types of things. And when you start to speak out and have a voice, it gets a little bit eerie, and you can tell in the voice progressively if you go through Isaac Cappy's most recent, last videos.
Is it real?
He gets increasingly more scared of what's to happen to him, because he knows the only thing next is death. So I just wanted to let you guys know that.
What else you got? That's it? That's all you got for conspiracies?
Tell me about the Nickelodeon Island.
Oh, it's the Epstein Island. Look at the photo.
The Nickelodeon spot.
logo.
Oh, it's the same
Nickelodeon
shape?
logo.
Yeah.
It's the same shape.
The truth is, there's a lot more islands out there, and this was just one look inside of what's been happening for many, many years, and children being sacrificed. they call it energy harvesting. You know, they believe that if you give your a child to ball, then you're gonna gain some sort of strength, and that's why, you know, the whole adrenochrome conspiracy with drinking the blood of children to regain your youth. You know, there was a lot of talk in the files about eating children, which is beyond comprehensible to imagine. You know, and it goes into the flavor of the children and the taste and the texture. And, you know, it's almost, it'll almost keep you up at night if you have a conscience.
Yeah.
And just to show you, there's the Nickelodeon Island and then the Epstein Island right next to it. Well, the Nickelodeon Splot.
Jeez.
It's even got the 1 dot. Look at that. Huh?
And if you know, I don't know if you guys have seen the Nickelodeon documentary on
Quiet on Set.
Quiet on Set.
That's the thing. It's like this. People have been trying to speak out about this kind of stuff for years.
Dude, Corey Feldman has been speaking about this for well over a decade, if not 2 decades.
Ryan Garcia, the boxer, he tried to tell everybody before his last fight about this, and people thought he was going crazy. He was going to lose the fight. Then after he came out and, you know, had the crown on his head, and he's like, all glory to God, I told you guys I wasn't crazy. And he basically gave all that kind of sparked this question of what's really going on, but people don't know what to do next. What is there to do next? And the thing to do next is to rely on your faith, because there's nothing else that you can do. We're not going to be able to touch these individuals, unfortunately, and they're going to have to deal with their own sin.
Anything else for the conspiracy corner?
No, nothing else.
All right, this is obviously a very heavy topic. And if you need help dealing with this topic, you can reach out to us. I mean, we'll try to get you in the right direction.
We have a licensed Christian mental health counselor.
We sure do. Shout out Taya.
Taya through Praxis, our Praxis Integrated Counseling connection. So, you know, if you need any sort of counseling, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. We can point you in the right direction.
I've already reached out. I'm going to be getting counseling soon. So I can tell you guys all about it once I start. So just feel free to reach out to me on YouTube or any sort of platform. Add me on Facebook.
Finding Peace,
anything.
relaxation music.
Yep.
Please reveal your existence, Finding Peace. They think that I am you.
They're gonna be pumped. They're gonna be pumped that you're on the couch. Dude.
New conspiracy theory. It's Brad Dixon.
Dude, Brad Dixon's gonna be pumped you're out here on the couch, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Jake, how do we end an episode?
Love and peace.
Yeah, you know it.
Peace and love.
You know it.
We love you. Peace. The Not Safe for Sunday podcast is recorded in the loft. Our production team is Spencer Berriman, Jacob McCall, and John Walsh. You can find us on social media at NSFS Podcast. If you'd like to join us for a Sunday service, you can find us at Conquerors for Christ Church, located at 972 Reed Road in North Dartmouth, Massachusetts.